What if you could learn a new language, not by burying your head in a book, but by just kicking back in a comfy chair and listening to classical music? Sounds a little nuts, right? Well, that's the wild claim behind a method that promised to unlock our brain's hidden potential. So, yeah, let's get into this fascinating and pretty controversial idea.
All right, to really get this, I want you to picture something with me. Imagine you're walking into your first day of a new language class. You open the door, and whoa, it is nothing like you expected.
For starters, the room is super bright. It's colorful. You've got these posters on the walls, but they're not just boring verb charts. They've got actual art on them. The chairs? They're comfy, arranged in a circle. It honestly feels less like a classroom and more like a chill lounge, or maybe an art studio or something. And believe me, the weirdness doesn't stop there. The very first thing they ask you to do? Pick a new name and a new job, just for the course. Meanwhile, there's classical music playing in the background, and the teacher starts the lesson. But they're not lecturing. No, they're performing a dialogue, like a full-on actor on a stage. And later, you're playing games and singing songs. So seriously, what is going on here? Okay, so this very strange method actually has a name, and it was cooked up to tackle what its creators saw as the number one thing holding us back from learning, well, anything. It's called Suggestopedia. It came about back in the 1970s, developed by a Bulgarian psychotherapist, a guy named Georgy Lozanov. And here's the interesting part. He wasn't a language expert. He was all about the mind, specifically its hidden, untapped potential. And Lozanov's whole philosophy, really, it boils down to this one core idea. He was convinced that every single one of us can learn at a crazy fast rate. So what's holding us back? He said it's this powerful social suggestion that we've been fed our whole lives, the idea that learning is supposed to be hard and that our brains have limits. So the whole point of Suggestopedia is to just completely dismantle that fear. The entire system is engineered to get you into the state of relaxed, confident openness. It's all about bypassing our conscious worries, the am I going to mess this up thoughts, and tapping straight into the subconscious, which Lozanov was sure could just soak up information like a sponge. All right, now we get to the absolute heart of Suggestopedia. This is its most famous and maybe its weirdest part. A two-part session they called the concert. This is where the supposed magic happens. First up is the active concert. Here, the teacher reads the new stuff with all this dramatic flair. I mean, it's a real performance, and it's set to some powerful classical music. Your job is just to follow along, soaking up the rhythm and the feeling of it all. Then phase 2, the passive concert. Now you put your script down. You just lean back, relax, and listen as the teacher reads the same text, but this time in a calm, steady voice, over a very, very specific type of music. And yeah, that music wasn't just some random playlist. Lozanov was absolutely convinced that Baroque music, specifically music with a tempo of about 60 beats per minute, which, hey, is about the same as a calm heartbeat, was the secret sauce. The idea was that this rhythm could sync up your body and your mind, putting you in this perfect state of relaxed alertness, basically peak condition for learning. So you see, the music was way more than just background noise. The whole goal was to make the new language itself feel like music. You weren't supposed to be sitting there trying to break down the grammar. Nope. You were just supposed to listen for the melody, the rhythm of the foreign speech, and just let it wash over you and sink in. Okay, so let's circle back. Remember all that weird stuff from the classroom at the beginning? It all starts to make sense when you connect it to Lozanov's psychological ideas. Every single one of those strange details had a very specific purpose. That whole thing with choosing a new name and job, well, the thinking was pretty clever. If you're not you anymore, with all your own personal hang-ups and fears of sounding silly, but you're playing the role of, a super confident French artist named Pierre, suddenly you're free to just play, to experiment, and make mistakes without that fear of being judged. And the colorful posters with grammar on them, that was all about something Lozanov called peripheral learning. It's the idea that our brains are constantly soaking up information from our environment, even when we aren't trying to. So those grammar points are just there, in the background, sinking into your subconscious without you even realizing it. And the teacher, their role is absolutely huge in all of this. They have to come across as completely confident, totally in charge. Not in a scary way, but in a way that makes you trust them completely. Because if this super confident authority figure tells you, hey, this is going to be easy and fun,
When you're in that relaxed state, you're much, much more likely to believe it's true.
So there you have it, a method that mashes up role-playing, art, classical music, all to teach you a new language. But the million-dollar question is, did any of it actually work? Well, this is where the story really splits in two.
On one side, you had these absolutely mind-blowing claims. People were throwing around the term super learning, saying that students could pick up over 1,000 new words in a single 30-day course. Just incredible. But then, on the other side, you had the academic world, and they were, let's just say, not impressed. They were deeply skeptical, and many just dismissed the whole thing as pseudoscience, with no real solid proof.
And this created this huge divide. In popular magazines, you'd see these glowing reviews that got millions of people excited about it. But then you'd open a serious academic journal, and they were just tearing it apart. One famous critique pretty much said that language teaching would benefit very little from the pseudoscience of suggestology. Ouch.
So, where does that leave us? It all comes back to this one central question. Was Suggestopedia a revolutionary breakthrough, a real key to unlocking our hidden learning powers? Or was it just an incredibly powerful placebo effect? I mean, think about it. If you create this super positive, encouraging environment and you convince people they're going to succeed, maybe they just do. The debate is still out there for sure, but it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much does what we believe we can do actually shape what we can do?